Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Midwest Artisan. I'm your host, Andy Hinkle.
And I'm your co-host, Dalton McCleary.
Dalton, how you doing, man? It's been a while.
It's been a long time. I'm doing great, by the way. Thank you for asking. How about yourself?
Yeah, doing really good. Yeah, for the show, I'd love to talk about how we both got new jobs. We can actually talk about it now.
Ching.
Yeah, Laracon US, and hopefully by the end of it we can touch on Laravel Cloud. We'll see if we hopefully we should have time. We should, and so
We
maybe
should.
we can talk about some Laracon EU stuff too. But yeah, man. So yeah, we both got new jobs. We are at separate companies, and so I now work for a company. It's called Wilbur Group, and so which is like insurance subrogation. I work with the wonderful Jake Bennett, and so he's a longtime community member in Laravel. And man, it's been such so much fun working in these projects themselves, and along with like the team. The code is just like really great. Just the collaboration, the pairing. We do a lot of pairing. Just a lot of stuff I've firmly just been believing in a long time. Just a really good fit for me. Love the culture there. It's been really good, and so. Yeah, and you want to give a little thing about where you're at, what you're up to these days now?
Yeah, it is kind of bittersweet that we work at two different companies now because we worked
It's
together
weird.
for like 7 or 8 years
I was
at
gonna
the
say
same
that it's
company.
been,
It's
yeah,
been a
two
long
different
time.
companies. Yeah, we've
Yeah,
been at
so
the
it's
two different companies for 8 years now,
yeah, so
and
it's
we
very
we
odd.
followed each other. Yeah, and now it's like we're two different places. It's been good.
Yeah, it's weird, but yeah. So I work for a company called Insight LPR. They do a lot of like real time alerts and like searching for license plate scanning and whatnot of that nature. I work. I don't think there's any like big prominent Laravel members in my company other than nobody. So,
It doesn't
but
matter that you have the Laravel
yeah,
people, but yeah, it's
I
just all
just
about the culture. Yeah, for sure.
and the culture is what's great about this. We do a lot of pair programming, we do daily stand-ups. Like it's great. The My boss will go through tickets and he'll essentially groom them to be ready for developers to work on. So it's not like you're just sitting here twiddling your thumbs going, "Oh, I don't know what to do," or you'll get a task that's come in that's incomplete and you have to send it back saying, "Hey, I need more details." My boss just like he does that for us. You don't even have to like worry about it. When a ticket comes in, you know that it's already been vetted by the boss and it's ready to work on. And just like that workflow, the pair programming daily stand-ups is just like a godsend. It is so good.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
cannot I cannot compliment it enough.
Yeah, it is so nice having like a good system like that. And the timing on that was like purely coincidental on how we both left at the same time. We both felt really bad for leaving at the same time. I left shortly after you did. In fact, like your departure slightly delayed my departure. And like nope, nothing for towards you or anything like that. But it was just like I really didn't want to screw the company that we were at. They're a fantastic company. They're just like the work kind of dried up. Of we it started for me. It started last summer. It's
Yeah.
when I decided to keep my eyes open for a new opportunity. Work
Hmm.
dried up, and during how work was really slow, it gave me an opportunity to step back, just assess where I want to be at with my career. And agency work, it can be very unpredictable. Working agency space, you work on a lot of context switching, site switching, and you deal with that from any company that you go to, even non-agency work. But at the same time, it's like what I mean by that is like work can be really slow and or it can pick up really fast, and we have to get things out the door for clients in a very quick rate. Or at the same time, it's just like you want to be billable. That's your thing. You want
Hmm.
to be
Hmm.
able to provide money or something
Value.
for the business. Yeah,
Anything.
value for the business. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And I felt like that was morally like draining for me. Is like I kept asking our management, like, please, I want work. Please, bring it in. I'm ready and I'm hungry for that. And it's been really slow and nothing to them. It's just been agencies across the board. I've been hearing at just in hiring freezes, or they just aren't getting a lot of work in. But when you come to work, yeah, since last summer, I just been in the slump of like when you come to work and you have a fire under you, you're ready to tackle difficult problems. I went to Laracon and then I came back with all this energy. I have a fire under me ready to work. And just throughout all that summer, really, just like I'm ready to tackle these difficult problems and innovate. And you're hungry to push these boundaries and stuff like that, explore new things. And you want to try really hard, like Aaron Francis, you want to try really hard and push, and so, but day after day, if the work coming in when it's like nothing at all or it's lacking a challenge, it just, and it came to a point where all of my learning was at a personal level. It was something I was doing in side projects or just something I was like, I had a lot of professional development time. So I'm like, let's pick up Reverb and see what that's like with Livewire and just see how those bounce with each other. Just stuff like that. All of my time was spent doing that. And it was just nothing from my day to day, like when I'm actually working, like I feel like I should at least learn something or something like that at my workplace. And so that's kind of my pitch. Like it's just been I will be completely honest, the last 6 months have been some of the hardest months of just times of my life. It's been really hard, just because you've been really like you really want to push forward, and then it's like you want to make this change, but you don't want to go to a company that is not a great company. You don't want to go from a bad situation. Well, it wasn't a bad situation, but you don't want to better your situation to even worse. Yeah. And so it was just like I would come to work like ready to roll and just like, oh, all right, well, I'm gonna do some side projects again, or well, yeah, etc. But would you agree? Have anything to add on? I mean, we pretty much have been feeling the same.
Yep, you pretty much hit it right on the head. About the same time, I was feeling the same. Like just the work just wasn't coming. Just sitting here, not doing anything, not learning anything, not working on anything. It's kind of like mentally draining to be not billable, not providing value, not being able to move forward for a long period of time. And so, yeah, I did pretty much the same thing that you did. I freelanced, did some side projects.
Started a podcast.
We started a podcast. I started a company, like just anything to move forward other than just trying to be stagnant or stale. Again, no hard feelings. That's just how I felt for a long time. And I think we're gonna get into the whole job market stuff in just a minute because I have a lot of opinions about that. Because when you're in this rut of, damn, I don't really feel great, and then you have to go, okay, well, maybe there's a better opportunity, and then you start looking, and then these better opportunities are just either they're not there or they're just you have to jump through 70 hoops just to talk to somebody about an opportunity. But I feel the exact same way you did back last summer. I feel the exact same way you do now, having gone through all of that just absolute horrendous 6 months to a year. Yeah.
And it's like when I made the decision, I told myself I want the transition to be an obvious choice and one that I would regret saying no to. And so that was kind of the hardest thing of like when I was looking for a new job, I didn't apply to everything I saw. And so it was just kind of this silent search, right? It's just like it's kind of hard because you want to blast it out there like, hey guys, I'm looking for a new opportunity. If you have something, I'm all ears, whatever. But it's this battle of like you want to make it public and you want to look for a new opportunity. But in doing that, if you do make it public, you have this giant sign above your head of when you go into your workplace, like, hey, everybody, because everybody will know. It just creates tension. Yeah, it just creates all this tension, just, unnecessary drama, etc. But it was just like, I want to reach out to my contacts, my friends from Laracon or whatever. And so it was just kind of this hard battle here.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So like, do you want to talk about your job searching experiences?
Yep. Yes, I would love to. Yeah. So it started like I've been on Layer jobs for years. I've been signed on their email updates mostly because it's kind of cool. Like the companies you see on there, are like, oh, I didn't know Mercedes used Laravel or whatever. Yes, it's just like that's kind of cool. And so, I've been kind of more closely been paying attention to like, oh, maybe I could see myself there, but it's so hard because you see these companies are like, maybe, it's just like, I always go back to that thing of like, I want this to be an obvious choice. And I may have heard that company. Maybe I don't know the people there or whatever. So it's always been really hard for me to apply for a job or for a position. So, it was over a year ago. I just had a newborn son, and Laravel started hiring. They posted all these new positions, and I thought it was
remember
just
that.
for it was like infrastructure, it was software engineer. I thought it was like one infrastructure guy, one software engineer. It was like, and everyone I knew, so many people I knew applied for that job. It was just like for the software developer, It was just like even our over on Reddit, they are our moderators we're all chatting and they're like, yeah, I applied. And the other guy's like, yeah, I applied too. Like I got throw in my why not? It's
Might as
Laravel.
well. Yeah.
And so I just didn't have that mental energy to get there to do. I just had that newborn son, and it was just like I didn't want to have to handle the process of like what I would even write to my cover letter, what I would even do, to just like that part of that. And I was like, I don't know if I can handle rejection right now. It's like I'm so, dealing with all this is like in something like that major because that's like cream of the crop. It's just like
That's
something.
end
Yeah,
goal.
right.
That's like
You're right.
you get there, you're there till you retire.
Yeah, that was really tough. And so that was even before my job search, but that was like one of those like, man, I don't know if I can pass this up. And so between that and then shortly before that, Jake Bennett reached out to me over Twitter DMs. Jake Bennett and Michael Dorinda have a podcast called North Meets South. Michael being from Australia, they have a podcast where they just talk just all sorts of whatever is on top of their mind, usually business workings and Laravel stuff about what they should use, and it's very interesting. It's a really cool podcast. We just started getting the chat. He was like, dude, I don't know where you're at, but if you're ever looking for an opportunity, I'm currently hiring at the moment. And this was well before I was looking around the same time I just had the newborn, and I was like, dude, yeah, I appreciate it, but thanks, but no, not right now, etc. So, yeah, we end up going to Laracon, Nashville, get to talking to him again. We just started talking about state machines and stuff. We just gotten talking more, and he said it again, like, hey man, we're hiring. And then I said, yeah, I'm all ears. At this time, I wasn't really looking for a change. It was pretty steady work going on, and pretty happy with everything going on. It's like, but I'm always open ears if there's something. And we just got to talking. It was more, again, it was just kind of that newborn thing is that my newborn son, it just kind of wrecks everything. It's just like, you don't want that big of a transition happening when you just have kids. It is one, I went from 0 to my first kid. It was just like that was already a big transition. So anyway, that was the second time he reached out. And I listen to the North Meets South podcast all the time. And every time that Jake talks about some of the problems they deal with, like, man, I should have said yes. I should have went back. And then since past last summer, there's been so many times of like, should I DM him? Should I reach out to him and be like, hey, if you still have any hiring or any openings, I'm interested. But it's like, no, it's just like I don't know, just something like that just felt kind of weird. And then it was like the week of Thanksgiving, and he just randomly DM'd me. He's like, hey man, just by any chance you're looking for a new job? And so like, yes. So I just like woke up. I'm like, no way. And I could not believe that. Just like that Telegram message. So anyway, it ended up we end up talking. It was the easiest, like, I'll get into the process. I feel like, well, there's some other things I've been through in this whole thing, but it was the easiest thing. We just had like an hour talk. We just talked about life and just about what he's looking for, and it just kind of matched up. He's like, it just was a really good fit for me, and so far it's just going into a new job. It's just like you hear about interviews, you read up all you can, but it is so nice, like seeing all the time I invested on researching the company and researching like what they stand by, and then actually what their processes, that like some of the process interviews, like, oh, we do this or we do that, and then you actually go into the company or you look under the hood, and it's just like it's kind of a mess, right? So it's so nice going into the company, like you're already nervous going in, and it's on the other side when you're actually there, it's even better than you thought. It's so relieving, dude. It's just like the processes that they have, like, oh, I was hoping it would be this, but it's way better than that. It's so nice to see that. And so I've been here for what, 2 weeks now? It's been probably some of the best 2 weeks of programming I've had in a long time. It's been really good. Some great refactors. It's been awesome. It's been really good. So yeah, that's kind of my story of how I got from. Um,
A to Z.
I will say that I mentioned the Laravel thing. That how I was kicking myself. So a while back, I reached out to Josh Siri about like if there's any openings or this was last summer, and he's like, "No, man, we're looking at hiring, overseas right at the moment." And then like a week before I started at Wilbur, Josh Siri reaches out to me and is like, "Hey, man, we're hiring again. If you're interested." Like, dude, like what is happening right now? And so I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna go work with Jake Bennett, but I really appreciate it. But yeah, that was wild, just seeing just how life can really just just really can. I spent all summer looking for just trying to look for that new opportunity, and then within like a couple weeks, I get something from from Jake over at Wilbur, and then Laravel, came to just like they didn't actually offer me something, but they were like, hey, if you want to come over, we can have a better chat about it. So yeah, but anyway, it's been really good. The bad part is just that journey. Now that's the good part, right? That's the good part.
That's what they tell
The
you.
bad part, yeah. And me and you have been like in close contact about like what works for you, and what's been working well for me. And have provided a lot of great tips. I know, Dalton, you've had quite the journey as well. So
I have, yeah. So I'm so picky about where I'm going to go next that it's going to be impossible for me to find a gig. And that's what led me to like, what if I just did my own company thing? Like if I've got ideas, I don't want to just like put them on the back burner and go somewhere else and keep them on the back burner. I just like, let me try them out. Let me do my own thing, my own company, my own way. So I tried that. It's working ish so far. Like it's not great, but it's not terrible. Um, so when I finished building those products and I was just sort of sitting here marketing it, I went back to the same thing of like, I probably should get a job that's that's stable and has like actual longevity and like actual work that I can feel valued in. So I think my journey is like 6 months long as I started applying to gigs here and there. And it was probably 3 months before I even got a reply for anything. Like I made a resume, I made a cover letter for everything. I didn't use any AI. There was no chat GBT. I remember that
yeah,
whole like Ian Landsman posted that one job, and I was sort of following. We were both following his replies on Twitter of like, oh, if you do this, this makes me look at your resume more than somebody else, right? Even if you just put a cover letter, just any like one paragraph cover letter. Hey, interested. Here's about me, whatnot. As long as it's not AI written, you should be fine. So I started writing just like cover letter after cover letter after cover letter, and it was actually quite exhausting. I felt like I was writing a novel, like every time,
yeah,
like
yeah,
because you can sort of say the same thing and you can copy paste like little sentences, but like if you copy paste all of it, they know. So ironically, I started doing cover letters more. That didn't get me any replies, ironically. Um, Even though it is still a great tip, you should write a cover letter, even if it's just a sentence or two. I'll tell you the one thing that really started getting replies was I made a custom landing page on my website for any job that I applied to. It's like daltonmccleary.com/resume/ whatever the job title was. I spent some time basically copy pasting my resume into this, but like tailoring it to the job description. And at one point I started like quoting the job description, like, hey, you guys say you're looking for, this and this. I'll quote that with a link to the job description and say, well, okay, well, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this.
oh,
And
that's
that would
brilliant.
actually get
Yeah,
me replies, but it wasn't good replies. It was thanks for your application. We've decided to move on. Right. It's like, well,
yeah,
I've at this point I'm spending like hours on each job because like you, I'm not going to apply to just any old thing. There were probably a
hmm
couple days where I was like, I'll settle for this, but
hmm
they never ended up doing anything. But spending hours on an application, making a custom web page, making a cover letter, making sure that my resume was, you know, tailored specifically to that gig. Like if the job mentioned filament, I would add filament to my resume. those types of things. So those little tips just they just get me a little bit closer. They get me a little bit closer. I was getting no replies. Now I'm getting rejection replies, which some people might not see as like a good thing. But hey, at least I don't have to sit here and think of, did they get my stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And then so I think it was probably halfway through that 3-month period where I think you, me, and Robert Wade, the guy who did the artwork for our podcast, met and was like, let's just look at each other's resumes, right? Like, read my resume. Is this good?
Yes.
Is this not good? What's working? What's not working? So I was like, I put a picture of me in my resume, just like on the side. And Robert, being the great designer that he is, he's like, if you put that as a circle, as an avatar, and put it next to your name, so it looks like your picture, your name, it looks better. I was like, I would have never done that in my entire life. So another great tip is have friends that you can talk to and send your resume to, and like, does this look good? Like, be honest with me. Are you reading this? If I sent you this and it's got 3 bullet points, are you reading those 3 bullet points, or are you not reading those 3 bullet points? We got great feedback from that, where one of the last things that I did that actually like broke through for me was, this is so stupid and I don't think it actually works, but I'm going to tell it anyway, like some sort of like witch doctor. I put my resume in dark mode.
I've not heard of that. Wait.
My resume.
So you're talking about your website resume or your actual like your PDF?
My PDF.
Oh,
so I took my resume after we did all of that other stuff. Had some great feedback from you and Robert. I made those changes. I applied to a few other places. Wasn't getting anything. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna put a black background, not like a black background, just like a a Tailwind gray 800. I think I literally copied that
just
code over. Yeah. And then I changed all the text to, Tailwind gray 200 and the title text to gray 100, whatever. I literally did not change a single thing about my resume other than I just inverted the colors. The next week, I got 3 interviews.
Yeah.
It's like actually, it just hit so hard.
I didn't realize you did that. Thing. But now that you mention it, nobody prints off resumes anymore. So, I mean, that's kind of a neat thing to do, is like, because before it's like, put it in white so it's easier to print. Then when you're in the room or, the interview room, I guess if you're not in person, I mean, why not? If you want to stand out from the pack, from this pile of, apparently in Landspin said 1,200 applicants, if you want to stand out, put it in dark mode. Like, why not? Yeah. That's actually a brilliant idea, since nobody prints them anymore. Yeah.
So I'm hoping. I can't confirm this, and my current boss didn't say anything about the dark mode resume. But I'm hoping that this resume looks different than all the other ones. It's got different things. Let me look at it at least more. Oh, this guy looks good. Let me give him a call. So like literally like you, within the span of 1 week, I got like 3 phone calls of like, hey, can we meet? Hey, can we meet? Hey, can we meet? So it's like 2 full weeks of just like interviews and all kinds of interviews. And so I think what we're going to get to next is the interview process. Right?
Oh man.
You want to talk about the interview process? Okay. So that's my journey in a nutshell, and the little like micro adjustments that I made along the way to get to like an actual interview. So do you have like extra tips or any other tips that I might have missed that we both did or that you did separately?
Yeah. One thing that you mentioned, kind of, I just want to make sure that it's like you said it really well, but it's like a landing page for the job you're applying at. Yes. And it's just like here's why I want to work for you. Like, do that. Like, that just nobody does this. You told me that, and originally that's really, really nice. Or just if you don't have a personal website, put that out there. Just, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's just like, hey, here's the things I'm interested in. I have a great blog post I'm going to have soon about you can make a Laravel component and put your public PRs that you've submitted on open source, have a list on there. So even if you don't you don't have to share everything, but this thing, I don't want to get too off into tangent, but this thing automatically updates every day of like, if I submit a public PR somewhere, it'll automatically show up on my website of like, hey, here's what I've been up to lately. So, but your website should be like, here's who I am. Here's the stuff I like to talk about, and here's what I've been doing recently. Just those 3 things. And so if you're looking for a new job, that's kind of the way to go. But just some tips there. And man, it's been just interviews are so broken. Just from we've heard it from the side of people interviewing, and how broke it is on their side about how they just can't find quality people. And now we're on the other side of like, why do we have to do these problems that just aren't real world?
If if you thought the whole like getting to an interview thing was depressing, wait until you hear about once you get the interview,
Just
getting to a job offer is sometimes worse. And I say sometimes, but
right.
almost all of mine were horrible. So yes, let's
Mine
start
were,
with you.
yeah, most terrible too. Yeah. It was like, so the first thing I did, another tip you can do is on LinkedIn, you can set there's a status on there, on your profile. You can be like looking for jobs. Like you can make it public, but you can also do it like private where it tells recruiters and people that, hey, you're looking for a new place. But once I set up that, I got all sorts of like messages. I would get this recruiter request to be like, hey, saw your profile, looks great. We have a Fortune 500 company looking for a level developer. Are you interested? I'm like, yeah, that's everything I'm looking for right now. If you have a big company, basically I was looking for like a well-established company that was mostly working in Laravel, but I'm happy to do something different. You get into these discussions, and software and just development programming is just one of those few jobs where the interview is often harder than the work that you're actually doing. It's like you'd have these
Unnecessarily so. It's unnecessary.
yeah. But there's a website called like Leak Code. Just go on there and start doing stuff because this is some of the stuff they'll be asking. It'll be like they would have these Leak Code stuff. It'll be like write a function that checks if an array is a palindrome. But here's like the catch: you can't use loops, can't use recursion, can't use any built-in functions. Array reverse, none of that, just like
write it with one hand and your nose, or some weird stupid junk like that.
Also, the array could be massive, so you need to be aware of memory concerns, right? It'd be something like that. So a palindrome, by the way, do you know what that is? Like for the listeners, okay. Well, a palindrome is like a word or a phrase. It's like the same as it reads forward as backward. So it'd be like radar or race car. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I can compare the first and the last elements and the second to last and so on, right? But wait, no loops, no recursions, no built-in. With an array this big, I have to deal with also memory issues. So at this point, I'm sitting there realizing like this isn't a real world problem. In the actual job, you would be doing something like Laravel's built-in collection methods, or better yet, actually solving a real business problem. But here we are, we're playing some bizarre game where we're solving these imaginary scenarios with these imaginary rules. So it makes you wonder what business rules they're actually solving, what business problems they're actually solving, and if they're taking their time doing this, or like what's this actually. And I understand from their perspective, it's trying to understand the way that you think. But if it was me, if I was hiring somebody, it just doesn't just what you need to understand is how it captures their experiences, how they're meticulous on their code, or their ability to deliver on time. So it's kind of a flawed system. Another one I saw that a recruiter sent my way is like this. I had to build a Laravel application that plugged into this New York Times API of the best books or best reads, and I had to make an API that would essentially like absorb that data, put it into a DTO, and make it respond back out. So, but then they're like, send over your GitHub repo when it's done. And so I'm like, what? And I was like, okay. So I sent over the link, and I did it all one night, and I sent it over, and I'm like, I'm curious, what if I just type in some like common, like New York API controller into like GitHub search, and out came all these repos of people doing the same thing of like I was doing. Some of them are even recent, and my gosh, like I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, being a meticulous developer and stuff like that.
Toot away.
I saw some
podcast.
I saw some awful stuff out there. It was terrible. Like, SQL injection, you name it. So, but that was actually one of the more better ones. But then again, I'm thinking as an applicant, like, I don't know if people might be smart enough to type in GitHub search like I did, so I'm like sitting here thinking like anyone could find this and just reuse it. And it's like, oh, I like what this guy did over at his app and I'm going to reuse that. That never happened for me. I've already built it and submitted it by the time I even realized it. But it could have been like one of those moments too. I'm like, this system is flawed too. It's just like, if it was me, it's just like, you really have to you have to be very meticulous. And I want a company that realizes those very specific, those minor details. I want them to be thinking about that. Just like having a something like that, a GitHub repository public. Just like, why not create them a private repository, link them to it, and have them submit their code? Just something that is very specific. That just kind of, it puts that bad taste in your mouth. And then the further you go into the interview process, you kind of realize over time of like, I'm not even there yet, and I can already see under the hood of all the things that are going to be a problem. And so it just like, I keep reminding me of this thing I always said is like, you want the transition to be obvious and one that you would regret saying no to. And anytime like this situation, I just said, nope, this isn't a good fit. And the pay was like, that was the only thing that was kind of keeping me,
I remember you told me
that
that
was a really good one. Yeah, it was like that was the only thing I couldn't say no to. That was the one that was the only one that kept me hanging. Because usually I don't listen, I don't respond to those recruiters, but that pay was like, that was incredible. So I was just like, all right, I'll hear you out. But anyway, it just makes you wonder what kind of problems they're actually solving. And so after those two experiences, I'm like, you know what? I was just kind of mentally drained at that point. This is going into November. I'm like, I'm just going to stop applying at any place unless it's like, at that point, unless it's like, I've heard of them. I want to absolutely work there. It just didn't work out. And so I just stopped replying to all the recruiter requests and everything. And then along came Jake, and it was fantastic. That was the easiest process. And, but because in full transparency, the first time around, Jake and I did do a technical interview just by understand like the things I talked about. And he was very meticulous in that. And that's why I was like, man, I love this. It was just not a good fit because I just had a newborn at the time. And so, but yeah, that was kind of my whole experience. It was awful. Like, and then like you said, applying it anywhere, it's just like no one's hiring right now anyway. And so Caleb Porzio did a bit on this too.
I was going to mention that as well.
Yeah, did you listen to that podcast?
I didn't listen to the pod, but I've seen the clip of him and Taylor talking about
yeah, it's like, so, yeah. I fully agree with this. Like 2 years ago, my youngest brother actually, he's been trying to find his place where he wants to work. And 2 years ago, I told him programming, but he's actually coming in town this weekend. And if he would ask me this weekend, I'm like, no, dude, just go do anything else. Don't do programming. Like a junior programmer is really hard right now. You hear the stories of these boot camps starting up and people not finding jobs these days for juniors, and it's tough. It's like you kind of wonder with AI and everything that's really changed it, and then as well as these hiring freezes, etc. So you really have to be a senior to get a normal job now.
Yeah.
And so anyway,
not guaranteed senior pay, but you have to you have to be able to do stuff. Yeah, I've had a very similar experience with you. A lot of and this sucks. Like I said, it's depressing just to get an interview, but it's also depressing to get through a technical interview. So I've bombed technical interviews before, and during my job search, but I'm going to put this into my defense that it's one of those ones where you get on a phone call with somebody, you screen share with them so they can see your screen. They show you some just abnormal, weird problem to solve. They're like, okay, you're going to write this in an online sandbox, so you don't get to use an IDE. Regardless, you don't get Sublime Text, PHP Storm, VS Code. You're going to do it in some online editor that doesn't have any autocorrect or any autocomplete. You are not allowed to use anything except for the PHP documentation. And it was like, I want you to solve these two problems in an hour on an online IDE, and all you're allowed to look up is PHP functions. Right? And I'm screen sharing my screen so he can't see that I'm doing anything else. Bombed the hell out of that. I didn't even finish the first one in an hour. Right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I can't remember the last time that the whole thread needle thing, which one's the thread, which one's the needle in arguments, that is just you'd have to look it up every time.
I don't remember that off the top
or just
of my
trying
head.
to remember some of the string helpers. Yeah, that's a nightmare, dude.
Yeah,
Just
but
why are we tying our hands here? Yeah, for sure. Go
yeah,
ahead. Sorry.
and the thing is that it's a Laravel job. I applied for a Laravel gig. Going to be working in Laravel. The email that I got to prep for it was like, yeah, set up a base Laravel, application because the second task is going to be in that. I didn't even get to that task. I failed it in an hour. And that guy was like, yeah,
Yeah.
he asked me, he's like, so this is the salary you're looking for, at a senior level? I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, well, thank you. And I'd never heard from that guy ever again. Right. I got
Yeah, it's
another
tough.
one. I got another one that was like, hey, talk to HR, had a nice phone call with them. They were lovely. HR was always lovely that I talked to. I sound British. Lovely. They're like, oh, yeah, go talk to this tech lead guy. Talked with him for an hour. Okay, now you're going to talk to this other tech lead guy for an hour. Did that. Okay, now you're going to do another one of those online things. You're not going to use your IDE. You're only allowed to use PHP documentation. I was like, damn, I'm going to fail this one too, right? Now I'm like 4 interviews deep. And then now they're having me do this coding challenge as quote unquote the last step. That one passed. I passed it in like 30 minutes. I was like, I think I sent you that one. It's like, okay.
Oh yeah.
I got it. I got this one. This one was the one that I wanted. It was in the role that I wanted. Laravel was for a company that I knew, or that I didn't know, but I'd researched them, so I knew that they were good. They had multiple tech leads. Like their system was great. The only thing that sucked was they used GitLab instead of GitHub, but I was willing to let that slide. Only to find out that I had yet another task to do on top of that. And this was the take-home test. And I know that everybody rolls their eyes when they do that take-home test because it's that one that's like, oh yeah, don't spend a lot of time on this. Just, do this real quick, send it in. Just, I want to see what it is. I sent you the instructions for that test. You remember it? It was like, I had to set up a VPN. They had to give me access to a VPN. I had to set up a server, a test server on their infrastructure. Like they had to give me credentials to get in the VPN to do these things. I had to install PHP Storm on this server. So all the work that I was going to do was through a VPN, through like Windows, whatever that application was, on somebody else's server. So I was coding on somebody else's server through the internet. Just to get to the task. It took me like 4 hours. I was like, guys, no thanks. I'm like 4 interviews deep. I've passed your technical interview tests. This is unnecessary. No thanks. I'll pass. Because ironically, that again, I had 3 interviews in the same week, so I was doing that and 2 other interviews. So it might be my bad. I don't know. The other interview that I did was in Laravel, and I will compliment them on that. But it was one of those ones where it's like, hey, here's 5, steps to a task, and the steps are like install Laravel, install Livewire, write a seeder for users and organizations, write a unit test for that seeder, and then it was like, now write one where you can favorite Reddit threads, right? You can only have 5 favorites at a time. So if you favorite a 6th one, the last one goes off. It's like that last part, that's a good technical test. Unnecessary to do all that stuff. They were good. That was a good tech test. Now, I think just like you, the gig that I took, I didn't do a technical test for. I talked with my now boss, Jeffrey Cobb, shout out. And it was just like, we just talked for like 2 hours. I think we were only scheduled for 1. We talked for 2 hours, and he did ask me like technical questions. And I'll be honest, I did get some wrong. Like I didn't knock it out of the park, but it was just like, hey, let's talk.
That's the best way to get to know somebody.
Tech.
Yep.
Like, what do you like? Oh, you like Filament? I love Filament. Let's talk about Filament. What's your favorite part about Filament? Plugins, whatever. That talk went so good, and I felt so good after that. He sent me a message. It was like, hey, let's talk again tomorrow. I think we talked again for like 2 or 3 hours the next day.
Nice, yeah.
I was like,
best way to know somebody.
I think this is getting somewhere, right? And I think I got the offer letter on like the Wednesday after that. Wow. And it was again, it was like
easy enough.
Like it should be no brainer. And
simple.
When I got it, I was like, it's a no brainer. I like the guy. I like the way that he works. The way that he described everything works. Like I want to work for somebody like that. I want to work in these kinds of conditions. I said yes the same day. Easy as that. So
awesome. Yeah.
Moral of the story, don't ever do a tech test. If they ask you for one, deny it. Decline. Just rescind your resume. Don't ever do a tech test.
Yeah, the technical interviews, that's it's kind of like the getting to know somebody just in talk, like you'll know pretty quickly, usually in the first 15, 30 minutes of like if they're going to be a good fit, one culturally, and then two on the technology side. I will say like I think I kind of prefer a technical thing. It does show like some areas of concern between. I thought the New York Times was a really good one. It was just like the fact that it was public kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But if you do like in a private repo, that was actually a really good. Like it was one that took me like 3 hours to do, like 2 to 3 hours. By the way, if you do it, if you get that far where you do a technical interview, pay them. Like pay them the
For
person
real.
doing it.
What are you doing?
Especially if it takes more than like 3 hours or something. But just
Right.
but that was a really good one because it's like it let them know how I construct my controllers because every developer does it differently. How you construct your controllers, how you do your DTOs, how you do your routes, how you do your tests. And then in the technical interview, you can ask questions, like, oh, well, I see you did this way. So that part was actually really good. Other than, like I said, other than it being public, making sure it's private, just something like that. But yeah, but the biggest thing is just talk to them. Like, you don't have to for some of them, it's like, well, we want to do a screen of a technical interview before we even talk. Like, okay, I can see that you're putting the business first before the people. All right, next, so just be very picky about where you apply at. And and to your point of all these tips we gave, make your resume very specific to the job. If you have stuff on there that's not even relevant to the job, just get rid of it. They're not going to care. They're not going to read it. So, yeah. Yeah, man, I've been wanting to talk about this for months. I'm so glad we finally are able to talk about it. But anything else you wanted to talk about before we move on?
Yeah, let's talk about something less depressing and less chaotic. Let's talk about some like exciting Laravel stuff.
I'm just so thankful. I just want to finally finish with. I've been so thankful for the team that I have, and they've been so great to work with. It's just like so relieving, and not that the team was so poor before, but it's so great to just to have all these dreams come true, if you will, of like what you wanted your work day to be like, and this is it, and it's been really good.
Yeah, hey, I was on the team before. What are you talking about?
About that.
This is the last episode of the podcast. They secretly hate each other. Kidding. Yeah, no. Kudos to you. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, and for I definitely miss out having there's been sometimes you always have your work bestie, and Jake's kind of that for me lately, but it's just kind of like.
Jake. I found him first.
It's just kind of like, if you see something funny in your code or something, you'll take a screenshot. We do that with each other for years. And I do kind of miss that because some of the things I can't share. And then the other things is like, you wouldn't get it, So it's just like, I do that with Jake sometimes now. But yeah, it's just like, it's been a fun ride. And hopefully one day we can, besides our Laravel memes we send to each other, maybe it can be more back to where it was. But yeah, man. Cool. So Laravel US in Denver. So did you think it would be Denver?
Were we talking
it was gonna
with
be Salt
Robert
Lake.
as well? That's what I was
thought
going to get to.
Salt Lake.
Is
we saw
the whole
the mountain
thing.
Taylor tweeted the mountain emoji, and I was like, Salt Lake City, right? And plus, Taylor was just, I don't know if you follow Taylor on Instagram. Actually, you don't, because you don't have an Instagram. I know this because I tried to find. I follow Taylor on Instagram, and he went to a Salt Lake, like a Utah Jazz, Salt Lake City basketball game. And so I was like, then he tweeted the mountain the next week. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be in Salt Lake, right? Nope, totally Denver. So, but I'm really pumped about Denver. It's over in Chris Sev's, where he lives, and so I'll be excited to meet up in his hometown. Last year was Aaron's hometown, so it'll be really good. I love Denver, dude. I haven't been there 15 years, so I'm really excited. And I'm actually going twice there this summer. I'm going there to see Metallica in June, and then I'm going again a month later. So for Laracon. So
lucky. Yeah. Hey, listen, I've vacationed in Denver a few times, or once before. There's a place called the Beer Spa. If you're there with Lauren, your wife Lauren, you need to go to this place. It is, I don't think they allow kids because it's a beer spa, but if you can,
kids aren't coming. Yeah.
Oh, even better. Okay. So this is a whole side tangent, and I want to go quick. Just look up the Beer Spa. That's all
Beer
I'll say.
spa. Okay.
The Laracon US venue is like a 15-20 minute walk to the beer spa.
Okay.
I've already like Google Mapped it. Because there's
It's
a
like,
hotel called the Catbird. It's on the street
yes.
as the same
Okay.
hotel as the Catbird.
Yeah.
You just go down the street. Look it up. That's all I'll say.
I
You'll
think
love that
hotel
place.
is like the closest hotel to the venue. It's like the venue is kind of out in the neck of the woods. It's like
Yeah,
next to a
it's
train
weird.
depot. We're probably gonna be hearing trains all day. That's all right.
Yeah.
Maybe we had thunderstorms in Nashville, so yeah.
That
But
is true. I remember that. It was like a tornado, it felt like outside.
yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out all the fun things to do in Denver. It's kind of like off the beaten path of downtown, so we might have to like Uber down to the downtown area. But you might have to show me around because I know you love Denver and you've been you vacationed there a few miles, and so we might have to get together and do some of that. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, beer spa for sure. Not together. That's a weird thing, but with your wife.
Yeah.
That'd be a great afternoon. Yeah, I'm excited for Denver. Denver's an awesome city. For real.
Sweet, dude. They have like talk proposals right now, and to submit a talk, and I'm hoping to submit. I won't submit one to Laracon this year. I need like a talk under my belt, just like at a random online meetup or something. I don't know. I feel like just going to like the cream of the crop of Laravel talks is just, some people do, but
Yeah,
I'm
but
just I don't know.
How much
I'm
of a
not
baller
public
move
speaker.
would that be?
Like a Jake Bennett, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's actually, Jake has been asking me, like, have you submit your Laracon talk yet? And he told me, well, he went on their podcast, they publicly said, him and Michael Dorinda said what their talk is going to be about, but he told me ahead of time what his is going to be about, and it's actually a really good one. Okay. He told me that his talk was about the gateway pattern, and he talked about it on the podcast too, but it's a really cool pattern, but essentially you can create like fake gateways. So like if you did like Stripe or something, having it in your env like Stripe gateway, and then it'd be like production or test or fake or something. And when you're running your app locally, you in your tests you do all this mocking already, but when you're poking around locally, you might run to an exception or something because it's trying to use production or whatever. But he says instead of actually hitting production, it will go to this fake route and just returns like a response. And so it's really cool, a thing. And so, yeah, I really hope he moves forward with that talk because that'll be a really good one. And then Michael Dorinda has a really good talk too on Saloon. And so that's one he proposed of like Saloon is like an HTTP fake library. And so he's like, not enough people talk about it. Everyone who uses it seems to love it. And he's like, not enough people seem to talk about it or anything. So he proposed a talk on that. And so I feel like this talk proposal process will be highly competitive. It's not that many people talking. Usually everyone who talks is like, they're a world-class developer. You've heard about them for many years. So it'll be really good.
It's going to be great regardless.
Here's my prediction. I think Laravel Nightwatch will be launched at Laracon, US.
You think they're going to pull an Apple?
Yeah.
Like, oh, by the way, it's available now.
Today. Yeah. Yeah. They did, because Laracon or Laravel Cloud is coming soon. I think with the Laravel Cloud announcements coming into this month. So at the end of this month, they'll put that out there, and I feel like then they're going to switch gears to. They're going to keep working on cloud, obviously, but they're going to switch gears to getting Nightwatch out the door. So I feel like once Nightwatch is out there, it'll probably be live at Laracon US. So there'll probably be a majority of the discussion there, and what's new with cloud. So that's my prediction. So
I agree. I kind of want them to have Laracon US be themed around sort of that Nightwatch, like that Nightwatch stuff. Like just do a dark mode. I think I've said it like 4 or 5 times. I love dark mode. They do like a dark mode Laracon. It's like all Nightwatch themed and sort of
yeah. Nightwatch is just such a killer name.
It is.
All right,
it is
so
really
I
sweet.
want to talk about Laravel Cloud. But speaking of Nightwatch, just real quick, I feel like developers like me, at least me, and I've heard from a few others, are more excited about Nightwatch than Cloud. Cloud makes sense, but it's one of those things that it's been solved in some way, but it's also like the Laravel way of like, hey, go to Laravel Cloud for all your server needs now instead of like go to DigitalOcean or this or that, or it's just like Laravel Cloud. That's it, right? But I feel like so many people are just like they're so excited about using Nightwatch because it's going to kind of change their way of monitoring Some people don't even have it. A majority of our apps don't even have something to that scale besides Sentry of like just catching exceptions. But we don't like, we do all these logs, you know, of like, hey, if this happened, we need to log it. But we don't really want to throw an exception, right? We never ever look back at those or validation errors, like, or if somebody hits a validation error hundreds of times on a page, you don't even realize that it's causing your user frustration. Like Laravel, Nightwatch is going to catch that, so really cool. But I don't want to get off into. I want to talk about cloud before we able to wrap up. But they did the whole thing about like they showed all what's new in cloud, and they had a moment. Did you watch the talk at the Laracon EU?
Yes, I did.
They had a moment where Taylor created, I think it was like a database or something, and he was trying to create it, and it just sat there. Like he hit the button, and it's like, oh, why isn't this working? I can just imagine all the people in the back just having a heart attack. Yeah, it was good. But anyway, yeah, I thought everything was really good, but it just like they did talk about pricing and stuff like that, and it just kind of got me wondering if I was actually looking. I thought I might save a little bit on the servers that I handle, so I probably have about 6 or 7 different servers between just people I've helped on the side. There's some of them I don't even send them the bill for, but it's just like I don't even know. My plan was to switch everything to cloud, so that way I don't have to deal with it too much. And there's sometimes where I need to send them like, hey, here's what a preview of this page looks like, and Laravel Cloud would be great for that. More or less, it's like you're trying to figure out like if I'm going to make the switch or not. And I don't know for somebody like me or somebody like you if it makes sense to switch our small servers to cloud. Would you agree with that?
Yes and yes. Like I would probably switch just to be on it. That way I don't have to pay for Forge, but it's really hard. I don't think like agencies or big complicated stuff should switch immediately because I don't know. It's hard. Yeah, I was really excited for cloud when it first came out, but like, yeah, I've swapped to the Nightwatch hype train. I'll probably switch my stuff to cloud just so it's easier for me. But it's hard. It's my opinion has changed like 50% since the announcement.
I kind of go back and forth on it. Like if obviously for a business context, sure, like it makes sense. Especially if you have a big AWS bill, it's worth checking into. But also they use AWS, so it's like, okay, are we going to save money here? And I understand your Laravel is going to be bundled up in a Laravel way where it's going to be easier on the resources and stuff like that. So it might be cheap. It probably will be cheaper, but it's just kind of hard for like small businesses or something like that. But I am very excited about cloud. I'm just like, I don't have the beta yet, so I think all of that will become at the end of this month, and we might have a change of heart. I might like, hey man, moved all my stuff to cloud. We'll see. But yeah, thought the talk was good.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, the talk was great. Taylor always kills it. I'm gonna switch just to see how it is. So I guess by the time we record another one of these, we should have some like legit opinions.
Yeah, for sure.
Or at least I'm gonna switch. Have some legit opinions.
Yeah, I'm going to try it out.
Might as well.
Come back. Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right, man. You want to give us a wrap?
Yeah, I was going to say, stay tuned for the next one. We'll have some like legit opinions.
That's probably what the next show would be. Is like all about cloud and what we think of it. So for sure.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. We're going to talk about cloud. We'll probably talk more about Laracon EU. We got to talk about Fusion from Aaron Francis because that man's a beast. Native PHP running an iOS. Like, I mean, come on. There's some goodies.
A lot of stuff to talk about.
Stick around. We'll have another great episode next time. We should be there. All right.
Sure, man.
See you guys.